about the War Graves Commission. Thank you.
Lord Mayor, Lady Mayoress, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission to welcome you to the Air Force plot at Stonefall Cemetery. For those of you who don't know, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission is responsible for commemorating the 1.7 million servicemen and women from across the Commonwealth who lost their lives in the World Wars. We commemorate over 1,000, mainly Second World War casualties at Stonefall. This plot that we're in at the moment is really unique. It's one of only a handful in the country and the only one in the north of England to be directly maintained by the Commission, just like our cemeteries abroad. The land here was set aside in 1942 for Air Force burials at the request of the government. The first casualty was buried here in July 1943 in the section over there on the right, and the burials then continued mainly in chronological order, going 1943 for the first few rows and then 1944 to the wall, and starting again behind where you're standing, 1944 to the back wall, and then the two sections down here, 1944 with some in there from 1945. Most of the casualties on this site were bomber crews who were either on training or operational flights. As you lay the candles out, you'll notice the whole crews are buried next to one another. The majority of casualties in this plot are also Canadian. There are over 600 Canadians here, almost 100 Australians, around 20 New Zealanders, and those serving with the Royal Air Force buried in this plot also include a Fijian casualty and several casualties from the Caribbean. It's wonderful to see so many people here today to honour our casualties this Christmas. We're really grateful to Benji Walker for reviving this tradition of remembrance on this site at Christmas time. From as early as Christmas 1945, the Royal British Legion organised Harrogate families to come here to this site to lay wreaths on behalf of families overseas. And in fact, they matched local families up with Canadians. I'm just going a bit off script now because we've got John Charlesworth here. John, come over. John's grandma adopted a war grave in the site of a Canadian called Derling, and that was back in 1947. And John was living with his grandma at the time, and so for all of his life, for over 70 years, he has been coming to visit Derling's grave. Several times a year he comes, and his long service to remembrance was actually recognised by the Canadian authorities. In the last year, he'd received a letter from the Honourable Harjit S. Sajjan, who is he the Minister of Defence?
Minister of Defence.
Minister of Defence for Canada, and he sent John this beautiful medal to thank him for his dedication to remembrance of somebody from Canada who John and his family didn't know, they were just matched up with, and for over 70 years he's been visiting that grave. So I think really we could probably show our thanks to John now with a round of applause for his remembrance. Thank you, John. So what we're going to be asking you to do is we're going to be asking you to lay the candles in this plot. We've got about 100 casualties in scattered graves and in the service plot behind the crematorium. We've already, whilst it was lighter, been and put candles on their graves, so we're just asking you to do the candles here. We're going to ask you to place the candles just on the grass, just in front of each headstone, and we want you, when we lay the candles, to take your time and to read the name of the person who you're putting a candle in front of. There's a saying that says you die twice, once when you take your last breath, and the second time when somebody says your name for the last time. So let's make sure that we're saying the names of all those men and women who are buried in this plot. I do need to mention health and safety before we set off. hopefully you've got torches with you, or mobile phones with torches on that you can use if you need. The grass is wet, so watch out for it being slippy. There, in the shelter at the bottom, there is a visitor's book which you're very welcome to sign into. The steps to that are slippy. There is a handrail there for you to use, so please use it. There'll be time afterwards if you want to put your comment in there. There's some hand sanitizer in the shelter as well, and we've also got some hand sanitizer on the steps here if anybody wants to use it. One last thing is, please don't hop over any of the horticulture, because there are a lot of roses in this plot, and I wouldn't like anybody to get a thorn in their leg, although I do have a first aid kit with me. So take your time when you go to put the candles out. We're going to have the carol singers here who are in fine voice, and they're going to be singing some lovely carols while we do that. Have we got some cadets, Benji, too?
Yes.
So some of our cadets are going to come, and they're going to be standing with the boxes of candles, and you can go and take some, and take your time placing those candles out, and then we'll all gather back around here for our service of remembrance in about 10 minutes or so. Okay, thank you.
Don't you want to do a box out?
We'll get all the boxes. Without bottom and...
No, you've got to wait. Yeah, there's three. There's
Oh!
Thank you. Oh, they should be fine. Yeah. You got enough there? I always do this, and I always organise it, and I never seem to remember to put
Thank you. Just have a little flick at the bottom. Yeah.
No, neither have I. I've got nails after doing this, so yeah, I'm going to go and place my candle on the on the ground.
I've got some actually. You gave me a box first.
The slowly tide of Christmas o'er the doth give place. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Verse 5, not 4, sorry.
Yeah, good. Wednesday, Sunday, today.
Just nearly blinded myself.
Sorry?
I just nearly blinded myself.
Yeah, it's nice, is it?
He has an attractions camera.
He has a camera. I think he'll do whatever he needs.
She's well with this stuff.
Okay, if you'd all like to gather around again, please. Thank you so much on behalf of all the families who lost loved ones at the end of the Second World War and after that for laying candles on their graves. It means a lot to me personally because I'll be burying my brother at a military cemetery in about 2 weeks' time. I may never see his grave again, but I know it's going to be looked after by families like everyone here who's been looking after them, so thank you very much. And I'm sure for those families who have lost loved ones a long time ago, they don't know that you're doing this, but the greatest act of service you can do is where you do an act for someone and you know it will never be repaid because they will never know the kindness that you did, so thank you for that. So now we're going to hear from Elizabeth Smith again, and we're going to hear the story of the casualties who died on the 19th of December 1943 and are buried here at Stonefall.
All Commonwealth War graves casualties have got a backstory. They were someone's son or someone's daughter. Perhaps they were a wife, a husband, a sister, a brother, a father, a mother. They are all worthy of remembrance, and it's good to know that today we are remembering all the casualties at this site. However, I do want to draw your attention to the crew of Halifax HX245 who are buried at this site, Section C, Road G, which is in that direction over there, 78 years ago today. On Sunday the 19th of December 1943, this crew of 433 Squadron of the Royal Canadian Air Force took off at 11:50 hours from Skipton-on-Swale Airfield. They were on a familiarisation flight around the general area of the airfield, combined with a basic circuit and landings exercise. As the Halifax left the ground, it climbed to around 100 feet, and then both starboard engines were seen to stop. The aircraft rolled onto its back and then crashed inverted, killing all 5 crew. Unfortunately, the plane crashed on top of another Halifax, where there was a team of ground crew working, and one of those on that plane could not get clear of the crashing aircraft in time, and sadly he lost his life as well. So those we particularly remember on their 78th anniversary are pilot Flight Sergeant Peter Robert Humphreys, aged 22, of Vancouver. Flight Engineer Sergeant Harry Gilbert Buxton, aged 19, of Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. Bomb Aimer Flight Sergeant Harry Lewis Miller, aged 30, of Toronto. Air Gunner Sergeant Kenneth Neville Lake, aged 19, of Toronto. Air Gunner Sergeant Leonard David Grease, aged 20, of Toronto. And Fitter Corporal Wilfred Martin Joseph O'Connor, aged 23, from Ontario.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear the story in a way of a poem about Pilot Officer John Gillespie McGee, who served with the Royal Canadian Air Force, like so many of the men in this cemetery. John was the son of an American missionary and was born in China in 1922. In 1931, he moved with his British mother to Britain and attended school here. John was visiting relatives in America when war broke out and was unable to return to Britain. In July 1940, he turned down a scholarship to Yale University to enlist with the Royal Canadian Air Force. John was awarded his wings in 1941 and was posted to Britain, where he flew Spitfires. On the 11th of December 1941, at the age of only 19, John was involved in a mid-air collision over Lincolnshire and sadly lost his life. He is looked after by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission at Holy Cross Churchyard, Scotwick, Lincolnshire. His headstone is inscribed with the first and last line of his poem High Flight, which described his experience of flying. So now we're going to hear from Ordinary Cadet Adam Whitehead of Harrogate Sea Cadets. He's going to read to us the words of that very poem.
High flight. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung, high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along, and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while the silent lifting mind I've trod, the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touch the face of God.
Thank you, Adam. Now we're going to hear from Mike Newby and Richard Spencer, both from Harrogate International Partnership. So Mike and Richard.
Thank you. Yes, it was my honour in 2013 to sign a partnership agreement, twinning agreement, with the city of Barrett in Ontario, Canada. The original link looked back to a conflict much earlier than the Second World War, as Barry takes its name from Sir Robert Barry, a war hero of the War of 1812. More significantly, he married a member of the Ingleby family, and both Sir Robert and his wife are buried in All Saints Church in Ripley. However, there is another significant link between Harrogate and Barry, and that is that Barry is just 15 miles away from Camp Borden, which was the birthplace of the Royal Canadian Air Force and an important training centre during the Second World War. And it's hard to imagine that there weren't some who went through Camp Borden would have actually served here and may indeed rest somewhere in this cemetery. Whenever anybody comes to Harrogate from Canada, they like to sort of I suppose one call it a pilgrimage to Stonefall, both as individuals and as groups. And indeed a choir from Barry sang at a service on this very spot in 2017. And following year, Chewett Youth Band went to Barry and actually took part in a passing out parade at Camp Borden. There is one other significant link between Harrogate and Barry, and that is Flying Officer William Howard Porritt, who was raised in Barry, was killed in April of 1945, and his grave is just over there. Finally, I'd just like to pass on the thanks from Bill Sargent, a member of the International Relations Committee in Barry. He himself is a retired Lieutenant Colonel in the Royal Canadian Air Force. His wife served as a captain in the Royal Canadian Air Force, and his daughter saw action in Afghanistan, again as part of the Royal Canadian Air Force. And he just wished to pass on the thanks from Barry to all those involved in this event and who look after Stonefall and who honour the memory of those for whom Stonefall is their last resting place. So thank you.
My name is Richard Barrett, but more importantly I'm the husband of Kate Spencer, who is the official HIP partnership representative with Wellington, New Zealand. Kate is a New Zealand citizen and is currently in Wellington and has asked me to represent her here this evening and read out two messages. The first one is from Kate. As a resident of New Zealand and a representative of Harrogate International Partnerships, I am here today to honour the memory of 23 New Zealand airmen killed on active duty during World War II. Following the end of the war, a special relationship was founded between Harrogate and our sister city of Wellington, New Zealand. Today, I would like us to take a moment to remember 4 young Wellington airmen who lie buried here in Stonefall with their fellow countrymen. Pilot Officer Charles Agnew, 25 years old. Pilot Officer Alfred Churchill Lockyer, 23 years old. Flying Officer Terence McKinley, DFC, 21 years old. Flight Sergeant John Matthew Stack, 27 years old. During her visit to Wellington, Kate met the Lord Mayor and he has asked that the following message be delivered on his behalf this evening. So this is from His Worship the Mayor, Andy Foster, from Wellington, New Zealand. On behalf of the residents of Wellington, I want to thank our friends in Sister City Harrogate for their commitment to honour the lives and sacrifice of the New Zealand airmen at rest in the Commonwealth Cemetery at Stonefall, Harrogate. You gather to honour our heroes and remember their sacrifice for country, Commonwealth and future generations. Stories of their service in the pursuit of peace and justice reveal the extreme courage these heroes displayed when facing the reality of war. New Zealand, despite its growing population, is still very much a connected community, and so the loss of a family member in times of war is wildly felt by the communities in which they once lived. The maxim, "Nothing can ever do justice to even one life lost in wartime," is as relevant today as it was when our young airmen left their homes in the Pacific to meet their untimely deaths on the other side of the world. These two verses from the poem The Anzac Mothers, written by Jim Morris, are as heartfelt as they are chilling. The quiet tears at evening, before elusive sleep, the cruel light of morning, the sun and memories creep over the sill of a humble house, or the door of a mansion grand. For a day, a year, we walk at dawn, strong sisters, hand in hand. When the ceremonies are over, and homeward is all that's left, our grief like a shroud we carry, to a sad, quiet place bereft. The potential that had no chances, the love that could never bloom, the fun that never happened, young lives lost too soon. Wellington and New Zealand, thank you for tonight's service of remembrance, and wish all our friends in Harrogate a joyous Christmas and a safe New Year.
Thank you. So as well as our own prayers and thoughts, we will have the official Act of Remembrance now. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me. Ever-living God, we remember those whom you have gathered from the storm of war into the peace of your presence. May that same peace calm our fears, bring justice to all people, and establish harmony among the nations. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. So many thanks to all and each and every one of you who've attended, who've helped us lay the candles beside the graves, to our carol singers, to our readers, and to our contributors. We're now going to finish with a rendition of "We Wish You All a Very Merry Christmas." So carol singers, over to you again.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your King. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now bring us some figgy pudding, now bring us some figgy pudding, now bring us some figgy pudding and bring some out here. Good tidings we bring to you and your King. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. For we all like figgy pudding, we all like figgy pudding, we all like figgy pudding, so bring some out here. Good tidings we bring to you and your King. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we won't go until we've got some, we won't go until we've got some, we won't go until we've got some, so bring some out here. Good tidings we bring to you and your King. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Wow, it's beautiful, isn't it now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. Well, thank you. Well, thanks very much. Yes,
If anyone gets locked in, by the way, I've got the phone.
If you go stand behind the first row.
No, it's so cold I can feel like this.
It's separated.
No, it doesn't even feel cold. Like, it doesn't hurt. It just like feels.
You might just have to play around.